Patrick, you ready to go live? Oh, we are live.
I'm live.
All right. Well, we're usually very excited to do these podcasts, but today we have to bump it up
This is
to
an interesting segue.
enthusiastic.
What are you going to say? We're usually very excited, but what's wrong? Why are you not excited today?
No, we're extra excited. We're actually enthusiastic to
That's
match
me.
your persona, the podcast guesting enthusiast himself, Con Porter, coming to you from the House of PC.
Yeah, in the spare room. The light's intense. I don't know how I feel about this, but anyway.
I didn't the ceiling's kind of low there. I didn't want to do the podcast in that room.
I didn't notice it until you just said that. Now I can't stop noticing it.
You can keep thinking about it all week, actually.
Fantastic. Maybe it'll feel nice and cozy.
But you're in the States. You've been in the States for how long now?
2 weeks.
And how many more weeks will you be here?
A lot.
A lot of weeks.
Yeah,
And,
I would say I think it's like 7 more weeks. 6 more weeks.
And during that time, there's kind of, I would say there's probably at least 2 big sort of landmark events for you.
Yes, sir.
So the first one's coming up and it's for you.
Yeah, cheeky bit of fitness for me next week in the Masters division. That'll be a lot of fun. Oh, I can't wait. Hey, I mean, I've been dealing with a bit of a thing with my lungs and my chest, but other than that, I don't know. I feel like this is the most kind of just like relaxed but simultaneously excited I've been to a comp in a while, because I just feel like it's going to be fun, like competitive as fuck, but fun.
You know, I actually could relate to that post you put up today about the clearing the throat. I think I have something similar.
Bro, I've got plenty of advice that has come in, and I've got to try and figure out now how to navigate the American medical system. But yeah, if I can get a few bits and pieces. I had actually got some great advice from I won't say who it was, but like quite a well-known athlete, and he's very good. So, and he kind of said, see if I can lay off some gluten. So over the week, I'll probably do that. If I can get back on the Montelukast, that'll help. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's like it's like for post-nasal drip, and that apparently helps a fair bit. I used it in the past with some success. If I can get that again, that'll be good. And then antihistamine and whatnot.
Well, and yeah, that's cool. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that can relate to that, but it's something that's kind of sounds like similar to you. It's like been with me for a while, and I kind of just live with it. But maybe there are things that could be done.
Does it get worse when you work out? I went and did after Iceland. I went and did my spirometer, which is like your asthma test. And so they take your lung function and then you breathe into like cold, dry air for 3 minutes. They just breathe it and then they retest it. And so if your lung capacity deviates by 8%, you're deemed to have asthma. And mine was 24% worse. So
Wow.
so that was the doctor basically. So we know that I have exercise-induced asthma, or like exercise-induced bronchitis, as it's sometimes called. But this is just kind of like the clearing of the throat and the mucus and stuff is way worse. Just like is chronic, man. And it's been my entire, like, I can't remember not. And it was only when one of my like best mates, we were just at the movies, and I was like, "Fuck, I'm really like phlegmy today." And he's like, "You're always phlegmy, bro." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Dude, haven't you noticed you are always clearing your throat, like coughing shit up?" And I was like, "Oh, I feel like it is just the norm for me." So yeah, bro. If it gets worse when you're training, it could be a bit of exercise-induced asthma. But yeah,
I have a feeling it's probably the diet stuff is probably where I can make the biggest impact. But but I did want to the second big landmark that's still to come on your trip here, I'm guessing, is for the adaptive games.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm so excited for that. Geordie and his mum fly over Monday. They're going to come to Ohio for the Masters. And Big nice. J's got the coach's pass. So
yeah, let's go.
How good is this? So I told him, I asked if he wanted to be my coach, and he's like, yeah. And then he's just gone, like, he's sending me workouts, giving me updates, FaceTimes, video calls, and just telling me basically he's really taken his coaching role serious, and I love that from him.
Was one of the first pieces of coaching advice he gave you to get a haircut?
No, he hasn't actually given me his opinion on the haircut yet, so I'm waiting to hear from him about that. But
That would be worth having on camera.
Yeah, I'll be curious to hear his perspective on it.
I wanted to get your perspective on something. I think one thing that I've appreciated about you in private conversation, the way you present yourself publicly, is that you're usually pretty good at taking a piece of information that I think we'll call it a piece of information that encourages people to take a side, and you are very good at kind of looking at all the sides. At least that's my experience with you. And obviously in the last few years, we've had a difference in the structure of the CrossFit Games themselves when it has been broken out into these different weekends that get to kind of focus on different groups of the community or the competitive community. And obviously having been involved in the individual side at the games, been involved at the team side of the games in that format, been involved now in the master side of the games in that format, and also involved in the adaptive side, I felt like it would be as good a question for you as anyone of how you perceive this in terms of, obviously there's people that wish it was all together and they feel like maybe something's lost by having to compete on their own weekends, and other people who really appreciate it because some of the attention isn't just completely absorbed by Tia Toomey and Matt Fraser, and more of the community gets some of the love at the biggest stage. But I was curious how you view that kind of in the second season of it now.
Yeah. Firstly, thank you for the kind compliment. That's kind of part and parcel of what I'm doing now for work and helps me with that immensely, which I'm sure we'll get into later. But I feel like when you look at kind of all these changes, when you look at the nature of CrossFit as a sport, it's still very much in its infancy. And there are so many different parties with a vested interest in everything. So when we look at all the different decisions, or how I look at all the different decisions that are made, is understanding that they have to balance a variety of different stakeholders and interests and various bits and pieces like with that. So with that, not everyone's going to be happy all the time, right? So unfortunately, when you only look at it from your own perspective of how beneficial it is to you, you kind of lose sight of the bigger picture of how does this affect everyone. And I think maybe I'm biased in the fact that I have got to experience the CrossFit Games in every sense of it now. Well, I mean, I haven't experienced the Masters yet, so I maybe could comment a little bit better after doing it. But and I experienced it in its heyday. Like I got Carson in 2014, 15, 16. Then I got Madison. I was, last year, this year as a spectator. And I don't know, I think, I get it from the perspective of the sport. I remember hearing very early on, in 2015, being told that the sport runs at a loss, and that, that being a staggering thing to find out. I'm like, damn, that's kind of hectic to hear in your second year at the games, to go, okay, well, fuck, is this thing going to be around for that much longer? If it's running at a loss, that's hectic. And I think that a lot of people underestimated that for a while. They thought, the games is this kind of money churning machine, but CrossFit is the thing that makes money. The games is kind of, subsidiary to that, or was anyway. And so I think that's given me an awareness throughout the entirety of my competitive career that there are various stakeholders at play, and that there's a degree of the games existing at all that's kind of just cool, and that we're kind of, that is kind of a nice thing that we get to experience, irrespective of the fact that it's not necessarily making money. So I think that, yeah, I don't know. It's also one of those things that's just uncontrollable, if I liked it, if I don't like it, kind of just have to show up and compete if I want to compete. So I don't know. I think
yeah, I mean, look at the.
I was probably I pretty much just did exactly what you said and just gave a bunch of different perspectives then.
Well,
I don't know.
but look,
remind me of the question. Are you asking my perspective on it, or are you asking?
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting. You get to compete this weekend, and then a few weekends later, you get to watch Jordan compete and coach him through that. If they were all on the same weekend, you couldn't do both those things.
Exactly.
Or at least couldn't do them very well. I actually think there was one athlete. Was there an athlete at the games? Was Jordan Adcock also coaching someone at the games? I don't know, but it would be very rare to see that.
Well, you have Carolyn Prevost who competed in the games, and now she's competing next weekend as a Masters athlete.
That's straight up gangster. That's unreal.
Well, that was one of the things that the CrossFit, I think probably maybe Dave or Boz, I can't remember, had talked about, was that the possibility was there. But, you know, for me, I know that there are a lot of coaches that coach people in different demographics. And so this does give them the chance to maybe shift, at least compartmentalize the focus to just the Masters or just the adaptive, or just if they are good enough to have someone at the games on a team or individual level. Obviously, within the context of the weekend, you're still going to have coaches who are coaching multiple Masters athletes, and they'll have to figure that out. But I don't know. I think there's pros and cons. I just was curious to get, you know, your take on it.
I mean, again, maybe this is biased in that I've got to experience the games as an individual, as a team, in every location so far. That therefore I'm okay with it just being a completely separate competition. Like I'm not like, damn, I wish I was out there with, you know, I was competing at the same time as the indies or any of that kind of stuff. So maybe that skews my perspective to, I'm kind of like, no, it's sick. Like we get to go and have the weekend. I do think though, and maybe this was worse at the games, the one thing that I feel like is a challenge with the events having so many divisions is just the ability to test everything and to have a well-rounded test when so much of the programming has to factor in logistics. And I remember this from Wheelwad last year when I was at the games last year with Geordie. You know, all of their workouts were kind of like 3 to 5 minutes. And that was because like they had 14, 15 different divisions with multiple heats that they had to get in. Same as with the Masters this year, the Masters and the teens. I believe there's like 600 athletes across, I don't even know how many divisions. Like that is logistically challenging. And I understand that as a competition organizer and as like people that are wanting to watch and travel, like I get it. But, you know, as an athlete, you look at it and you go, oh, well, you know, so far we've got the run and everything is kind of like 7 minutes or less. And so, look, I don't hate that personally, but yeah, like it does make it hard.
No, and it's you know, it's actually been a theme of the year that Patrick and I have talked about, because some of the logistics are also like people, volunteers, judges, staff that are available. And now you have you know, just in the United States alone this year, in terms of high profile events, between the several qualifying events to the games, 2 WFP tour stops, the games themselves, the Masters weekend, Wadapalooza, tier Wadapalooza, the adaptive wheel wad games. It's a lot, you know, and there are a lot of people who love volunteering at these events, but they can't do 15 a year, you know. And so then to make sure that not only, because one of the solutions to, well, we have 600 athletes and 30 divisions, is extra competition floor. But extra competition floor means you need twice as many judges, twice as many equipment staff, twice as many scoring, you know, et cetera, down the line. And that's an additional challenge. So you can get a lot of people when it was all on one weekend and it was known 6 months ahead of time. But when you're, you know, now there's people that have to decide.
Yeah. And that's another perspective I haven't even thought of, but it's so true.
So we got to, Patrick, you can bring up that question from Lynn here, since we're already on the topic of the Masters games. We can kind of stay there. You alluded to it, a lot of short stuff so far. You mentioned to me earlier today that it feels very like kind of capacity testing. Personally, I haven't looked too much into the programming, but obviously, is all of it out yet, or just most of it?
No, six workouts so far. There's still there's a movement list, and there's still a lot of movements on the board. So I feel like we're either getting a chipper with everything, and then I feel like with what's left, it's going to be a thruster rope climb final. Which, hey, don't hate that, but
seen it before.
Yeah. But I also think that there's probably room for maybe 3 more events with the number of movements that are still in play on the movement list. So let's call it maybe 9 tests. There's a 7K run at the start. There we go. 2 events left. Ooh, the inside scoop. How do people know this? Fuck. Thank you for the inside scoop, though. Yeah, 2 events. So one must be like a crazy chipper with 1,000 different movements in it, which, you know,
maybe
cool.
It's a 2009 final.
What's that? What was that?
That was just like 30 reps of everything in a row.
Oh, yeah, maybe like something like that'd be cool. But I think like they've got to go. I think they've got to go kind of like 12 to 15 minutes on one of them. I mean, I'm sure the final will be a sprint, but like a 12 to 15 minute would kind of fit the category here. But yeah, look, I like it. I think they've got so many movements, so many different movements being tested. The run to start the weekend is good. There's one workout. How am I feeling? There's one workout with a bunch of GHDs. I hate GHDs. They just are they are the bane of my existence. I will never do another GHD after next week unless like I find myself in a competition and have to. They just fuck my body up. Like they really do. And so that workout is, I think, event 4. So honestly, I tested that yesterday and I got through the GHDs unbroken. And I'm in bits today, so fuck yeah, let's go. But that other thing, everything else is pretty fun. I mean, it's such an interesting shift from prepping for Torian earlier this year and kind of expecting what was going to pop up there, and then seeing what pops up here and understanding that these is programmed for so many different divisions as well. But they all hurt, which I love. There's one that's a big echo bike sprint, and I'm excited for that one. The run's pretty. If I have a good long day, that's a great event for me. If I have a bad long day, it's going to be a horrible 25 to 30 minutes. But depending on how quick I run it. But then, everything else is pretty fun. Like even with the thank you, Lynn. Everything except that first workout. I mean, that first workout is the perfect example of a bad lung day. My lungs just don't cooperate. The workout goes longer than sort of 8 to 10 minutes, and I just implode. And it's exactly what's been happening to me off and on for 4 years now, really. But if I have a good lung day, let's fucking go. But yeah, I like it. I like the programming. I like the workouts. I think it's all very manageable. I feel if I was going to be critical of it, it probably lacks a skill dominant test so far, which again, for me personally, I love. But I feel like the reps, the muscle ups in the muscle up workout, it's not enough reps for the, like say the 35 to, it's not enough reps, I think, for the 35 to 39 for them to really factor in. They're kind of like, if anything, the rest of that workout. And then, yeah, what else is, I mean, there's still the GHDs, I suppose you could argue, are a skill.
I think even those things, people have those in the back pocket. People are doing those and have been doing those for a long time. And it's always an interesting nuance of like discussing the programming. It's very easy to test strength in isolation. It's very easy to test a run or a swim or a bike or a row. It seems like programmers in general are usually more hesitant to write something that is specifically, you see it occasionally, handstand hold, 30 ring muscle ups for time, something like this. But like even the workout at the games that everyone was talking about, well, that was just a handstand push-up workout. Why couldn't it have just been 30 different handstand push-ups for time to offset the back squat and event 1?
Was it though? Do you really think that was purely a deficit handstand push-up workout? When you watched like Hopper, Ricky, I think it was like Sprague, someone else walk to the bikes at almost the same time, it very quickly became a bike/grit workout at the end there.
Yeah, and I guess what I'm asking is, would the balance of the test have been better if it were just 30 handstand push-ups for time, knowing that you also had the back squat, knowing that you also had the run row?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
So that's always the interesting thing for the skill. Like I'm really deep into prepping for WFP and Mesa, and they have a test that's got some skill in it, but I think it's a skill that everyone has. So I think the skill might not be tested that much. Like we'll wait to see.
What's the skill?
Pirouettes.
Oh yeah, I think I saw the workout. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them. It's 15 feet with a pirouette in an unbroken section, twice down the floor. I think there's 9 total times you have to do it in the workout, so it gets up there. But it's just, I always find that to be an interesting component of the conversation surrounding programming. How do you get the skill work in there, and how important is it to get the skill work in there?
Well, I guess that's it. Like you can still have, I've always disliked personally single modality tests. I understand the value of them, and I understand that they're good, but I personally have always disliked them. I just think because yeah, like the kind of balancing of a test. Like to me, that's the idea behind the sport, is to be able to balance the different modalities. But or you're right, if you're going to have a single modality test, well, maybe you now need to have multiple, like a skill purely test and a endurance purely test, or like ones that are very biased towards that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely programmers that lean that way, but it does seem like putting the skill in there in isolation is usually the biggest hesitation that programmers have.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing about the Masters games, which I think is a little different, and you can speak to this as well, on the individual level, working your way through there because of the regional format, the semifinal format, and just the notoriety of the athletes. A lot of times you show up and most of the field you're competing against. In the Masters in general, this has been true forever, or kind of because they've often had always had qualifiers online. And you also have the rotating age ranges, so you always have new blood that's eligible for the division. It seems like there's always going to be athletes that you're like, I remember that guy, I recognize that name, and then there's other people just constantly coming out of the woodwork.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, like it's one of those things. Like you can't really compete against your opposition. You kind of got to just do your thing. You know what I mean? Like you can kind of go, oh fuck, this person's going to be good at that, and this person's going to be good at this, but it just comes down to executing, doing the best that you can, and wherever that leaves you is where it leaves you. Like it's the only thing that you can control in competition is yourself.
There are a few guys in the division who you have competed against before on the big stages, I would say.
Yeah.
How long has it been since you've competed against Scott Panchik or Marquand Jones or Sam Dancer?
I think we were all in the 2018 games, maybe. Did Scott do 2020 online? I can't remember.
I don't know either about that one.
Maybe 2018 was the last time I've thrown down with those boys.
Has there been...
What's so cool about it is it's like there is going to be people I've competed against individually on teams. I mean, Scott was a stud. Like when I even started CrossFit, he was just a dude that I looked up to when I got into the sport. And it's gun to be able to compete with them. They're all just like quality humans as well. And I feel like what my hope is, and I could be wrong, is just like it's going to feel more just like throwing down with a bunch of just good dudes, and then hopefully someone wins it at the end of the weekend. The kind of grassrootsy kind of feel to it. Maybe I'm wrong, and I'm going to turn up and everyone's super zero, and I'm just going to look like an idiot, but we never know.
I have always heard, and at the competitions that I've gone to, experienced that it's more of the former of what you described.
Fantastic.
Are you aware that you're the only Australian in the field?
There's other Aussies competing?
Not in your division.
Oh, not in my division. Yeah, I think I did know that. But there's definitely other Aussies that are going to be there. Shout out to my brothers and sisters from down under.
Yeah, that I hadn't really looked into that, but you're holding it down for the Aussies and the 35 to 39 men. What day will you get into town for that?
I think we're going to drive down on the Tuesday. Get in on the Tuesday. We've got check in on Wednesday, and then the comp kicks off Thursday. It's 4 days. Settle down. We're masters for a reason. 4 days.
Well, there's 600 of you.
Yeah.
So that just
it's a long time. And even if it's kind of only like only 2 workouts a day, it's not the work, the volume of those days. It's you have to wake up and psych yourself up for another day. We went to masters for a reason, right? We get tired and we need sleep in. Come on, guys.
I wonder what it would look like to program half the divisions on Thursday, Friday, and half of them on Saturday, Sunday.
I think that sounds great. 2 days. Let's go.
Well, I mean, but it is for some people a big trip. You've been over here for a while, but I'm sure there's people coming in that week as well. Yeah. Any other thoughts on Masters games coming up next weekend that you want to share before maybe we switch topics?
No, I'm excited for it. I'm really excited to see everyone. I'm really excited for the event. If anyone out there is on the fence about coming and watching, please do. It'll be a good time. And yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm really excited to kind of get into a big competition, but hope with that kind of more grassrootsy feel.
Did you bring your Daddy's Back t-shirt?
I have a few of them, my friend. I'm wearing my Geordie t-shirt right now, which is by the same company that did the Daddy's Back one.
I can tell that it's the same style. Actually, I bet you know what would be sick would to be get like a two frame, like one frame that's split in two, and frame those side by side. Put that up in your
The
room,
one with
in your
Geordies as
apartment.
well. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, that would be
cool.
cool to, or if you did that and gave it to him as a gift.
Oh yeah, I don't hope he's not watching this. He probably is, but
maybe not right now, but he'll probably watch it at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, this is called the Catching Up with Con, and obviously there's a huge component of your life right now that's focused on getting ready for this competition. But if anyone was listening closely, at this point, although you referred to it as your competitive career, I don't think your training would not be what you consider, or competing would not be what you consider your profession or your job right now.
Nah, it's not. It's very much, that flip kind of occurred from Torian, really, or even in the lead up to it a little bit. But no, I think off the back of last year's games, I know it was a very reflective period for everyone, but I've been kind of chipping away at this counselling psychotherapy course degree for a long time. And I just decided that when I got back, I was like, my priority is to finish my studies because I'm ready to create, to find meaning and purpose outside of being an athlete exclusively. I still love competing. I'll compete in some capacity for the rest of my life because I enjoy it. And I think that's what I like the most about it is I love the process of competing, but I think that, first and foremost, I understand that like everyone's just so good now. So the chances of doing it as an individual again are probably done and dusted. Masters might be a nice thing that I can keep ticking along with in the future, but no, like I'm working, I would say my full-time job now is as a therapist and I fucking love it. I could not love it anymore.
So we get to see some glimpses of that on social media. Patrick's got a nice post here. I want to ask you about one thing in particular, but yeah, being a therapist, I guess you said full timer. That's the main thing. What is outside of training? Where are you spending a lot of your time during days in terms of how you invest it and spend it?
Right where I am now, sitting in front of the computer. So I do all of my stuff. It's interesting. I had this idea to create a group therapy platform model system that I spent hours and hours putting together, working through, which you'll see like reflected there in the kind of in some of the stuff that PC is looking through. I have to update that again. And I launched it. I was super duper pumped. And I feel like the world isn't quite ready for group therapy on that scale. And so when I launched, I was inundated with requests for one-on-one therapy. And so that's just the direction that I went. I do, all my stuff is one-on-one. I work with a lot of different clients and it's all done sort of online here. And then I'm actually writing a book at the moment, which is a really exciting thing that I've been trying to get off the ground for quite some time. And so, and then when I'm not working with clients, I'm kind of just sitting, writing, researching, putting that all together.
We're going to add the I Am project to the list of IG pages that we followed live online over the tenure of B.Friendly Fitness. But yeah, if you're interested in that, go to the I Am project on Instagram there. Check that out. Con is going to be putting an update to that apparently soon.
Well, just the options of how to work with me. I mean, at the moment, because I've got the comp coming up, I'm taking new clients, but sporadically. Like I've kind of got like a bunch of regulars that I'm working with already, and it's awesome. And so like a big thing is, making sure. The way I look at it and what I really love about it is when I'm not working with clients and I'm not writing, all I'm doing is continuing to learn. So when I started CrossFit, got into the fitness space particularly, I just remember being so enamored by it that all I wanted to do was be the best coach, athlete, person like that I could possibly be in that fitness space. So everything I was doing was like reading, researching, watching videos, studying the craft of fitness. And that's the way I feel now about therapy, like psychotherapy and, you know, just counseling, coaching, well-being, mental health, mental wellness. So, you know, when I get a new client, someone fills in one of my like intake forms, I go through that with a fine-tooth comb, and then I just read and research. And you know, my goal at the moment is to be the very best therapist that I can. And that's my primary goals. Everything sits subsidiary to that right now. And to write the book. The book's pretty fun. But the book, writing the book is in of itself also a part of like upskilling myself as a therapist, because it's continuing to learn and it's continuing to kind of refine my thoughts and feelings and beliefs into digestible content that I can share with people. And so yeah, like that's and like I'm attacking it with the same ferocity, intensity, commitment that I did when I got into competing. And it's been interesting, it's been interesting kind of starting this journey as, you know, I guess you would call it as an entrepreneur as well, because I've set up my own business. But my focus is 95% on being the very fucking best therapist I can for the people that I work with, and 5% getting new clients, because this is in its infancy. And I think that's a piece of advice that I'm really glad to have figured out for myself, because I think it's very easy to start business and be headfirst into how to build your business and lose sight of what it is you're actually doing within your business. And I
Do you know
think
who you sound exactly like?
who?
Greg Glassman, early 2000s.
Really?
Oh yeah, he used to speak all the time about you know, he used to, because CrossFit, before it had any gyms, was something that he did on a one-on-one basis in a Globo gym.
This light's
And-
killing me. Sorry, I'm keep fiddling with it. It's like fucking.
And then, you know, over time, he ran out of time. He didn't have any
yeah.
more spots in the day for a one-on-one client. So he started, you know, if you were coaching me and you were coaching Patrick, he'd be like, hey, I got this guy. I think you guys would get along. Would you be cool to like train with him at the 10 o'clock hour? You know?
Yeah.
And he had 2s, and then he had 3s. And before you know it, he had classes. But from everything that I remember and heard him talk about, he never forced that. And if he's probably more well known for saying that, you know, he never really pursued new clients, like his clients, and he didn't really feel the need to advertise. Like his clients were the advertisement.
Yeah.
And then they would talk about it, and then more people would get interested and show up. And, you know, during the course of the next 10 years, it spread to be a global phenomenon. So that's, I think that advice is profound that you're giving, but it's also like, I think what you're alluding to is it's something that's worked in business before.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, he's pretty spot on with his advice in terms of that kind of stuff. The dude was, you know, he created this incredible thing that we all fucking love, CrossFit.
Why the psychotherapy? Why the therapist? Was there something that drove you to it?
Different reasons, man. Yeah. I think like a lot of people that go down the path of studying psychology, psychotherapy, counseling, whatever it is, they start by trying to solve a problem of their own. And it kind of starts with like a desire. And I think for me, geez, when I went back to school for the first time was 2017. So that's how long I've been chipping away at this. And it was, yeah, like my own frustrations with the mental health industry and with the mental health world, and with not feeling like there was a service that spoke to me. And then I was like, well, fuck it, I'm going to go and learn all this stuff myself. And hopefully that will provide me with some answers and some guidance, you know, that I was craving. And then, you know, over the period of time that I was studying, I did start to work with incredible therapists myself. Like there's one guy in particular that I started working with in 2019, and he was phenomenal. Like just such a great therapist. And then that just reiterated to me that like these people have the capacity to change someone's life and to change the trajectory of someone's life in a positive way. And I feel like I don't talk about my own mental health journey as much anymore, because I don't know, for a variety of reasons, but I feel like I have a pretty unique experience in that space myself. And through that, I just see the capacity to help people and to be of value. And I think that, I just love it. Like, it's so fucking interesting. Like, human beings are just the most beautifully complex problem that I don't even think exists to be solved. They're just this kind of puzzle that you keep kind of putting pieces together, and then more pieces just keep appearing. And that process is really enjoyable to me. And I think it enriches my own life and makes me a better person. And it allows me to use my past and my experiences to give, to help other people.
Two things. The first is that, like, the origins of what you just talked about, again, just resonates to me so much with what is often the story for coaches in sporting or training world. Is they were, they were seeking a way, and I think even Greg, he saw the things that were out there. He thought there was something that it wasn't the thing for him. He thought there was something else he could do. He started experimenting with it. He found it. He tried it on his brother. He tried it on his friend. He tried it on his teammates. 20 years later, he's introducing it to the world on a .com website. And then all throughout the last 25 years, this is such a common thing in when you talk to people who've owned affiliates for 10 or 15, 20 years, and they say, like, this, for whatever reason, I was introduced to this thing, and I was like, I got to share it with people. And it's like just the parallels. I was kind of curious that this would happen when we talked about this, but the parallels are there. And you can call yourself a therapist, but you could also call yourself a coach. You're just coaching.
Well, yeah, I do. I mean, I use the two interchangeably. It's actually something that I ran into issues with when I was doing some of my supervised practice towards the end of my studies. Was I think there's this weird binary that exists of like therapy versus coaching, and some therapists are more receptive to combining the two. Others aren't. They're kind of like, you're one or the other. And I'm like, both are in the helping profession. And I mean, you saw on the thing, it's counseling and coaching. So like, people can come and you can you gauge, it's up to you to gauge what the client needs more. Do they need therapy, or do they want therapy, or do they want coaching? And the two do look quite different, but I don't see any issue with combining the two. And it's how I practice. I do combine the two. Oh, Brian's buffering. Pat, how do you deal with this light, man? It's fucking blinding me. I turned it off. Now I look like I'm in the shadows.
Well, the other thing,
use the light on the side. Use the light on the side, and when the lamp.
Oh,
I showed you that earlier.
You did, but I was not really paying attention. I'm being honest.
No, not the top. The side. The side. Look.
That one?
I don't know. The small one. The directional one. Is that better? That's a little bit better.
Okay. And the other thing I'm sure is just the word itself might have a different impact on people. I'm seeing a mental coach. People will receive that differently than I'm seeing a therapist.
Yep. And different clients address it as different things. Some say they're coming to therapy. Some say they're coming to get to their coaching. I think, provided the person is licensed and qualified, there's nothing wrong with coaching, like using coaching as a means of improving your mental health and well-being.
Towards the end there, you talked about something that I also think is critical just in general of the human experience, but I also will kind of bring it back to me. You were talking about the puzzle pieces, and like just this understanding. I think it'd be hard pressed to have someone who would push back on the way that you described that. Like, the human experience is a constantly evolving and changing thing. And as a human that's experiencing, so are we. And yet, I'm, like I said, I'll bring it on me. Like, I sit here and on almost a daily basis for the last 2 years, I've been dealing with, someone labeling me as a thing and other people just believing that thing and then not giving me a chance to ever be anything else. I am that thing. We'll just say untrustworthy. And so nothing that I do or I'm not even allowed to grow or change or evolve or improve or make amends. I just am. And that's like, something that I've been having, like, I understand that that's obviously not true. I could have been untrustworthy in a moment, but that doesn't mean that I am inherently untrustworthy and will be forever. And that's just like, I'm just taking that into the personal, but obviously we could expand it to any situation. And so I guess I'm just kind of opening it up for you to offer any thought on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the lessons, those lessons that I did the 30-day thing on, they're forming the kind of basis of this book, and it's been picked up by an editor looking at, and with that editor, we're taking it to publishers when I get back from over here, which is really exciting. And it's looking really cool and like a really promising sort of whole situation. And so one of the chapters is all about, being really rock solid in who we are. And like one of the lessons that I posted about was one that was kind of like, you drown out the noise around you by turning up the volume inside. And what I mean by that is that, I guess, like the antidote to noise from other people and their opinions is being really grounded and rock solid in yourself. And I feel like, and I'm not saying that this is necessarily you, but I feel like the more external opinions impact you, the less sure potentially you are of who you are, right? So when you're rock solid in who you are and you know what's important to you, you know what your values are, you have a great close network and support crew that aren't just yes men that are kind of telling you what you want to hear and are going to give you the feedback, who know you, like who really know you, right? Then you find yourself in a situation where kind of like that, it just becomes noise. And whether it's one person that thinks ill of you, 10 people or 10,000 people, it's just noise because you know who you are and you're rock solid in who you are. And I think that process of becoming really grounded in who you are is quite a beautiful process. And it's one that I've had to go on myself because I used to be super susceptible to noise, and I used to be super susceptible to the opinion of other people. And I used to be super susceptible to overthinking as to the nature of my own character. And yeah, like it is a beautiful process to get to know who you are, to who you really are, not who you think you're supposed to be, not who you want other people to think you are, but who the fuck you are, right? And I think that, maybe, for yourself or for anyone that's dealing with that kind of external noise, it's a beautiful opportunity to reconnect with yourself. And sometimes that noise has validity. Sometimes that feedback is stuff that's worth taking on board. And sometimes that's where the process of figuring out who you are and getting to know yourself, it can be a kind of icky one, because it's about being like, oh damn, like, do I find validity? But then when you go on that process and like you kind of said, you feel you're stuck in that place. If you go on that journey and you go on that through that process of changing, if people don't choose to change as well, if people don't choose to accept your growth, well, then that's on them. And it's that age-old adage, isn't it? That like someone else's perspective and opinion on you says more about them than it does you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think it's super valuable insight. And, even that concept of self-awareness is consistently evolving. There's lessons that I learned when I was 18 and 19 years old, going through some pretty challenging times, that I've relearned this year, going through totally different experiences, also challenging, but in different ways. But then I realized like, oh, I'd kind of forgotten that thing along the way.
Yeah, and I think that's, and you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to change your beliefs. You're allowed to change your perspectives. You're allowed to grow. You're allowed to feel different, have a different opinion on things 2 weeks after, 2 hours after, 2 months after, 2 years after. That's the beauty of being an open-minded and growth-minded person.
And you never know where those lessons are going to come from. Like you said, sometimes they come from the most unlikely places as well.
Oh, fuck both.
Brian, you could just Venmo me and I'll make sure Con gets the money for that little, little.
That therapy session.
Yeah. Oh, it was a bit of a nothing sandwich, wasn't it? I just kind of said, this is what you need to. And this is what I hate a nothing sandwich, right? So where you kind of say a bunch of stuff, you don't say anything. I'm like, you got to do that. Like, that's a process. And it's like, it's good to give that kind of what's the word? Direction for it. But like, start with the things that other people say about you that make you feel the most uncomfortable are probably going to reveal like the most, if that makes sense. Right. So if there's certain things that people say or that you hear or that you start to think that you're like, damn, that really makes me feel uncomfortable, that really strikes a chord, those are quite often the best windows to look through. They mightn't be the prettiest views, but they're the ones that you probably need to kind of have a little peer inside.
I'm sure some people listening, and for those that haven't, maybe it would be great for them to see, but the 30 for 30 that you did.
Go back to what was that comment? Dude was at 168. Oh, dude, 168's the one. Yeah. Mate, should have said g'day. 168, and then can I give a quick shout out 168? They are the fucking best people. And honestly, yeah, I'm so stoked to be representing them in the coming weeks, in next week, because Dean and Lizzie, 168, one of the best gyms in not only Australia, but the world. So stoked you got to work out there, dude.
That was probably less than a year ago also. His girlfriend was stationed in Australia, and he went to visit her for a few weeks.
Oh, great spot to be stationed. Oz, what a spot. What a part of the world.
Yeah, cool, nice.
And they're really amazing. They're amazing owners because they embody everything that old school CrossFit was about. Like, they live and breathe it. They've got 3 locations, and they are floating between those 3 locations every day, constantly upgrading and updating the services and things that they offer their members. And like, they're doing it because they love it. And I love that. That's why I'm stoked to be a part of it. Anyway, good old
yeah. Nice. Lynn brought this up a while ago, and like I said, I think many people may have seen it, maybe invested in various degrees of it. But the 30 for 30 you did, two primary questions: what inspired it, and how challenging was it to see it through to the end?
So my buddy Shandor, who I actually shot gladiators with, he was one of the other gladiators, and he and I sort of stayed mates off the back of it, and we kind of share a lot of thoughts and views similar. And I saw him, he's big into his kind of personal growth and all that kind of stuff. He was doing this like 100 stories in 100 days thing, and that was his idea. And he kind of posted, we have this little group, well, it's not a little group, it's quite a big group, where there's a bunch of dudes that, we all kind of entrepreneurs or achievers in various different fields, a lot of ex-athletes and even current athletes and stuff across a bunch of different sports, business owners, and we swap ideas. And when he kind of said that, a couple of the boys took it on board, and I was like, I'm not committing to 100 days because I won't see that through, which goes part and parcel with my first lesson, which was make everything as easy as possible for yourself. And I just thought, though, you know what, I suck with my content and my consistency with my content. So this is a good opportunity to kind of use a framework. I just started practicing as a therapist as well. So like, this is a good opportunity for me to just get some thoughts and opinions and feelings out there. And it's not directly marketing my services as a therapist, but it's an opportunity to kind of speak about topics in various bits and pieces. How hard was it? Fuck, it was so easy, man. Like, I probably got another 20 lessons in the bag. The hardest part was obviously there was a couple of days where I'd be super busy and I'd have to come up with something quickly on the fly. But yeah, coming up with the 30, I could have come up with 30 more. It was really cool. And it was really cool. And like I said, it kind of formed the framework, the foundation for this book, because, I've had all these thoughts and these feelings and these discoveries that I've made on my journey. And that journey, like, it's been so multifaceted, from studies to sports to mental health to just kind of even the opportunity to live all over the world, travel, meet so many different people and hear their stories and perspectives. Being able to kind of put all of that, give that some cohesiveness was a really enjoyable experience. And then off the back of that, the idea came to put it into a book. And then, as I said, met with the editor and the guy that's going to help bring it to publishing. And he was kind of like, dude, it's awesome. Give it a bit more structure. So the structure of the book is there's 3 sections. And they're basically just like different lessons that fall into the different sections. One is the self, one is others, and one is the world. So like, one of the sections is just lessons that I've learned about figuring out who you are. And setting yourself up for just knowing who you are, knowing how you want to operate in the world, and, you know, getting that clarity around your sense of self and identity. And identity is one of the big pillars of mental wellness that I focus on as well, like that clarity of identity. The second one, others, is just kind of like how you interact with other people, from relationships to mateship to friendship to just like dealing with other people in general. And then the last one is world, and that's kind of just like how you navigate yourself in the world, how you kind of, you know, orient yourself in, you know, meaningful and positive directions, deal with setbacks, come, you know, find the right balance of challenge and content, go from there.
Do you think there's any kind of a order to those? Like if you're capable of identifying with yourself first, that makes the other two easier, or is it sometimes
So
the other way around?
So the structure will go self, other, world. I don't think it needs to be that strictly organized and strictly hierarchical, which is actually like an interesting thing. When I came up with the concept of the I Am Project and this mental health model that I put together, I initially had it as a pyramid, very heavily inspired by CrossFit's old, you know, that the pyramid
Sure.
functional of like fitness at strength. That's one of my favorite things I learned from the level one. Like there's so much fucking gold in the level one, and that was part of it, and it stuck with me. And I think I initially had that, and at the base of the pyramid was physical health, because if you're physically unwell, you're going to probably be mentally unwell as well. It's very hard to improve your mental health if you're physically unwell. And then second to that was identity. So identity kind of sat as the second level of the pyramid. From there was emotional regulation, connection, and then self-actualization or alignment. And so I ended up getting rid of the pyramid and the hierarchical concept, because I think you can work on these different aspects of mental wealth, so mental health, synergistically. I really do.
What in terms of the social media, because you mentioned that, you know, maybe you're not always that consistent. Doing something like that, you know, kind of a consistent discipline on a daily basis for a month, basically.
Mm.
Did you notice anything change from the way that you interact with social media, people interacting with you?
Nah, I got really annoyed at the algorithm and just realized what a fucking pain in the ass the algorithm was, honestly. Because I'd put up something that I was like, fuck, that was gangster. Like that was a good lesson, and it would flop. And then I'd put something up that was so seemingly surface level, and it would pop off, and I'd be like, motherfucker. Fucking hate Instagram. And also just like they would just hide shit. Like it was crazy. I feel like, yeah, until I started talking about sex, and then it just popped off again. But before that, it was just like, fuck, nobody, like it just was dead. It was quiet. And, you know, like,
Interesting.
not always, but yeah, just the biggest lesson I learned was that Instagram's algorithm sucks.
I wonder if it would be, I mean, is it Instagram's algorithm that sucks, or is it people?
No, it's definitely Instagram's algorithm. It makes no
But
sense
they're
to me.
catering to people, are they not? And to people's preferences and to what they'll click on and look at.
Yeah, but they also, I think so what I found was anytime I tagged my business in it, the I Am Project, or anytime I shared it with that immediately, when it was text over the top, it would quite often just get zero traction. And a lot of the time people would even message me and be like, I don't even see your content anymore. And I was like, yeah, just apparently that's what's happening. I think they don't like when they think that you're trying to advertise stuff. I think they don't like that.
I mean, I don't spend a ton of time investigating these things, but I do know this. If I take a picture on my phone and post it on a story, and I haven't posted something in the previous day, that's going to explode compared to anything
Yes.
else.
Yeah, it does.
Today, all I did was reshare two things that Patrick posted on B.Friendly Fitness and tagged me on, and that won't get a lot of interact. Like it won't shift towards anyone's algorithm.
Yeah.
So unless you're specifically seeking me out, you won't see that.
Yeah. I mean, I posted when I got my haircut the other day, and that story had over 50,000 views, which never fucking happens. But I'd not posted anything for like 24 hours leading up to it. So it's like, what do you want? Do you want us to post consistently, or do you want us to post sporadically? Like, what's the go? I mean, I don't know. And at the end of the day, like I said, my goals aren't marketing at the moment. It's just hammering, just learning, man. Like being the best that I can. there'll be a time to focus on the business, but right now the time is to focus on being the very best that I can.
Maybe try TikTok, according to Lynn. But Lynn actually
I can't stand TikTok. I dabble in it, but I just can't stand it. It's just annoying.
I've never put it on my phone. I don't
Like everyone on TikTok's really cunty. So fuck, I probably can't. I just swore twice. I feel like everyone on TikTok is like, I don't know. It's just like they go a little bit like people are just every now and again when I want to like hate the world a little bit, I'll just read comment sections on like Instagram. Sometimes if I want to get really angry, I'll go to TikTok and I'll just read the way that people talk to each other, and I'm just blown away by the state of humanity.
Yeah, I think we can leave that right there where it is. Lynn had a question earlier. I thought this was kind of interesting and appropriate.
Yes.
Any thought of venturing into sports therapy?
I work with athletes. Yeah. Like I would say I'm in that space already. Like I would say it's not a lot of my clients, but I do have a few clients who are very much, an element of their therapy is based around sports performance. Yes. So yeah, I love that space. Obviously, huge amount of my own experience in it and navigating that world. So yeah, like definitely continue to pursue that.
Masters games coming up, adaptive games. You'll be in the States for 6+ weeks. And then what's the rest of 2025 look like for Con?
Well, I think so. Geordie and I are doing Waterpalooza together as well, which will be a vibe because they've got adaptive and able-bodied pairs for the first time. So he and I are a pair. That'll be a blast.
They had that at Torian as well, right?
Yes, they did. So I think Torian piloted the whole. Oh no, there's been a few comps that have done it, I believe, but it'll be at Caliwaza, so that'll be a good time. Then I'm back to Oz. I'm going to Saudi Arabia with a bunch of the Aussie crew to do an IF3 event. Then me and Lukey De Jong are doing pairs at Down Under. I don't know if that's public knowledge yet, but it is now. That'll be a lot of fun. Back to Macau, doing an event there. But like, so for me, like my promise to myself after this games was basically I can do any comps and events I want to do, but I'm training once a day. I'm in the gym for 90 minutes and that's it. Do the class and then like 30 minutes of extras before or after. Like I love training. Like I said, big shout out to 168. Like I've been jumping in on a lot of their classes, particularly on days where I've had really big days with clients back to back. I don't necessarily have the mental energy to go in and train on my own. Been jumping in on their classes. I really enjoy it. It's so like, it's reminded me of how much I love fitness and I love CrossFit as just a pursuit in and of itself, like with no goals or outcomes competitively. Like it's just a really enjoyable community to be a part of, thing to do. And, training was primarily a mental health tool for me for a long period of time before it became a job in essence. So yeah, huge fan, love it. And I look forward to that. I look forward to training, focusing on health. I've got a few health issues I want to get on top of. So yeah, with health being my health, longevity and enjoyment being my priority with training, I still do what I can competitively for shits and giggles. But yeah, like that's kind of the foreseeable future. And also I want, hopefully I'll have this book done about 25,000 words in at the moment. Haven't written much the last week, to be honest, but I need to sit down and start getting back into that. But yeah, hopefully have that finished by the end of the year. At least the first draft of it, and look to get that published next year. And then, yeah, like I was kind of a couple of other books I'd like to write, but this is the first one. For those of you, I'm sure you guys know, but like, my background prior to CrossFit was journalism and I was writing. I was a writer. When I started CrossFit, I was writing full time for a travel startup as like a travel writer. So that's always been something I've wanted to do. It's always been a goal of mine to write a book. I've never wanted to write a memoir and just write about myself. I was a little bit self-indulgent, but and I'm harsh on myself like that. I'm like, what? But these lessons and being able to kind of come up with a framework that I think can provide a book that's of value, I'm really excited to continue down that path.
Would you let someone write a book about you?
Maybe. I think here's the thing. I think that if I spoke to when I was chatting to the editor and my manager and stuff about the book. They were talking about a memoir. Would I do a memoir? Would I write a book about me? And I was like, maybe off the back of writing a couple of other books. if people are interested in understanding, okay, well, where did these lessons come from? Like, what's maybe then
That makes
have
sense.
to ask mum and dad not to read it though.
You mentioned that the mental health for you, like the training is a component of managing the mental health. When you're working with people, is that something that you also put value on, like trying to understand what they do physically in their life?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that framework that I came up with and that pyramid or that pillar system that I came up with, that forms the foundation of how I practice as well. I kind of look at, okay, well, broadly speaking, there's these different pillars of mental wellness, and one of them is physical health. So let's have a look at, is this person physically healthy? Like, what are they doing for their physical health? And then I've kind of developed as well, like I guess like a 3-stage approach that I take to therapy. And that's kind of like starting out with, I like to give everything kind of little names and like easy to remember, like systemize things, because it just makes it easier. And I like, it's 3 C's. And so the first one is control. That's looking at kind of getting the person more control, more kind of like ability to regulate their nervous system, regulate their emotions, recognize when unwanted thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and patterns are coming into it. So I think a lot of people, they try to dive into these kind of higher order things like setting these lofty goals or figuring out, how to stop being angry. And rather than actually just going like, well, let's just get your central nervous system, let's just get your nervous system regulated first. Let's get you able to deal with really shitty emotions when they pop up so you have a little bit more control over that in your life. And once you're coming from a place of regulation, then let's dive into unpacking, hey, like, let's figure out who you are, what's important to you, where's your clarity, like, who are you as a person, what are your goals, why are they your goals, why do you want to get towards that? And then we can kind of move towards commitment, and that's where you're actually doing the thing. And so with that, in terms of that control and that kind of getting a person more regulated, just like getting them healthy, that helps regulate the nervous system, right? Someone doing exercise. Now that exercise, sometimes intense exercise can be good. Sometimes actually getting the person to drop the intensity of some of their training, because that's creating more dysregulation that they don't need, given the fact that they are trying to process, years of trauma or, all these different bits and pieces that just like the toll that trauma takes, whether or not it's deemed by anyone else to be significant, the role that trauma plays in dysregulation, the role that trauma takes on the body. You get these people that are trying to pursue really intense exercise and really like intense fitness goals when they're in this state of chronic dysregulation. Wonder why they're not getting better. It's about taking the foot off the accelerator for a little bit and understanding that they're going to have to slow down to speed up in the long run. And so, yeah, that's a huge part of it. I know they're eating shit. Like there's the amount of, and I've learned this firsthand, like the stuff that I had to change with my diet, drinking, all that kind of stuff. Like it's been profound. And it's had a brilliant impact on my own wellness, focusing more on my physical health, not just my physical fitness, differentiating between the two. That's had a crazy impact on my mental health.
Yeah, I think when I hear that, I think it was actually in the CCP course for OPEX, they talk about it, but I think it's referred to in the level 1 as well. Just like as a human, you can only handle so much stress. And so stress is applied in a lot of different ways, but exercising, especially intense exercise, is stress.
100%.
Having mental traumas or emotional traumas is constant stress. So, eating like crap is stressing your body. So all these different stresses, if you're not really accounting for them, can, you're probably not going to be able to really make much progress with any of them.
No, exactly. And that's why when there was a hierarchy to these pillars, physical health sat right there at the bottom.
PC, what do you got?
Yes, T-Bird, I am. I love Yami. Yami will be my dude. Like he's, I've been busy, so I haven't been, as I said, I was doing a lot of my own stuff and a lot of just the classes when I was back in Oz, but Yami's my boy. He's been my emotional support panda for the last couple of weeks as I've been over here navigating these chest infections and building up to the competition. So, he's a fucking special dude, Yami, and he'll always be a part of my life as a coach or a friend. Well, that's just rude.
She always puts that in there.
Con, sorry I had to dip out for a second there, but I don't know if you talked about your experience at the games this year. It was kind of a different role, you kind of got to join the seats with me and kind of enjoy it from a different perspective. Like, I kind of me and Brian did a recap show of like my experience, not being media, kind of just soaking it all in. Can you talk about like your thoughts on the games? Just, how you felt. I mean, just what you saw out there and why were you there, and and your thoughts moving forward.
Yeah, I'm such a fucking fan. I think it's just so sick. Like, I get so into it watching. I understand that my time as an individual athlete has come to an end for so many reasons, and being able to sit back and actually take it in without feeling that kind of FOMO of wanting to be on the competition floor. Obviously, there's still events that I'd look at. I'm like, I messaged someone and I was like, my toxic trait is sitting in the crowd and believing I could beat everyone in the bottom heat in every event. And then just like knowing that that's not true. I'm not saying that I could, but I was like, you can't help but, when you have competed on that stage, you sit back and you go, I'll probably do that.
2 months after, 20% of that heat beat you on every event in Australia.
What's that?
Said 2 months after, 20% of that bottom heat beat you on event after event at Torian Pro.
Yeah, but they beat me in every event. So then the brain starts to go. Anyway, but like I sit there and I watch it and I'm like, dude, I just love it. And then the sport's just fucking wild. Anyone in any other sport or discipline that doesn't think that CrossFit produces the fittest men and women on the planet are absolutely dreaming. And that was on display. The games did a brilliant job with the programming this year of highlighting just a level of athleticism that's comprehensible to your average punter. Because a lot of the time, you see these higher skill stuff and all that kind of thing, and it can be a little bit off-putting. And Pat, we were speaking about this the other day where we were sort of talking about where's the struggles that CrossFit's facing at the moment with getting people involved in not only the sport, but in the gyms. What CrossFit did such a brilliant job in the early days of doing was creating a training methodology that also allowed a competitive outlet and allowed people to shift the onus away from an industry which was primarily focused on aesthetics towards performance. It was about being fit, not just looking fit, and you could actually use your fitness and your training to an end, which was to compete. Now, CrossFit was the pioneers of that space, and it's been picked up by all these other different competition type formats, like things like High Rocks and all that kind of stuff. That Turf Games is a big one. Buddy of mine, Andy, runs it. And he does a fantastic job with it. And they were always like, they don't want to compete with CrossFit. They want to be a different thing altogether that allows your punters that don't want to learn to snatch, that don't want to have to learn to walk on their hands, that don't want to do a kipping gymnastics movement for whatever reason. And I think those reasons are innumerable because it's hard. And I think the best thing, these is tangent after tangent, but stay with me. The best thing CrossFit's done in a while is that new advertising campaign that they've just done where it's just like, hey, this is fucking hard. Like, it's simple, but it's hard. And I feel like that's gangster because it's exactly what's turned people off. But it's like they need to lean into that, I think. And to be like, hey, like, we get that this is hard, but it's really good for you if you do it and you stick with it. And that's where, like, this year's games, see, we'll bring it back full circle. This year's games did a brilliant job of creating events that people could watch and just go, that's fucking crazy. Like that first event, for example, like those dudes in the first, those dudes at the front there, they were running like a 330 to 340-ish K pace, which is flying. Plus the rowing in the middle there, they were flying. They're then back squatting 220 kilos. Like anyone that goes into the gym can know and does a little bit of training can look at those two statistics and be like, this is insane levels of fitness and strength that we're seeing combined. They walk 150, and this is within hours of deadlift. Tell someone that they did 60 deadlifts with 160 kilos in a workout prior to doing those squats. These are numbers that are comprehensible to the average punter. And when you look at the totality of the tests over the games, to me, it just showcased how incredible the athletes are these days. Like just the level that this sport has gone to. And I hope that inspires more people to kind of look back to CrossFit as the pinnacle of training for health and fitness and understand that, like, yeah, it's hard and you probably won't get to the same level as these dudes, but it's gangster as fuck. Like, this is the peak of fitness. Like, this is the peak. These are the fittest men and women on the planet. And I thought that was one of my biggest takeaways from this year's games. Didn't love the venue. Yeah, everyone's saying that like about the venue and like not being necessarily the best, but yeah, I don't know. Like, I hope that I feel like it was one of the most exciting games to watch. I've just accepted that I'm a massive fanboy and I really enjoy watching everyone compete, and that's this side of the fence is now my side of the fence, and I'm okay with that. And yeah, it was cool.
I gotta ask you a couple follow-ups to that. How sick was the final heat of the men?
Oh, and the heat before, fuck. Oh, like the heat before, I think I jumped out of my seat into the aisle when, like, obviously, hats off to hats off to everyone that was going like hard out. Like, all the boys are incredible, but obviously my heart is to my Aussie brothers and sisters. So when I saw Rick like overtake Jason in that heat, I just fucking jumped out of my seat, and yeah, it was crazy. The whole competition was insane. Like, it was really, really cool. Really, really cool.
Well, I think as kind of a historian of the sport, like on the men's side of things, this was the highest level across a final heat that I can remember. I mean, Patrick and I have talked about it. Like, there's at least 9 guys that are at just operating at this level where you really think on any given day they have what it takes, and that has not always happened. In fact, it's rarely happened on the men's side.
It was 8. It was 8 until Jay Crouch, showed up and showed out like we thought he would eventually.
Jay is a gangster. Like, Jay, I fucking love Jay. Jay's got to be one of my favorite athletes, and just a great dude. I have so much time for Jay as just a human being and an athlete, and seeing his evolution in the sport is awesome. As someone that competed with Robbie back in the day and watched him coming up for such a long period, he's gangster. And like, the thing is, he just keeps rounding himself out even more. In another 12 months, he's going to be pushing that podium again. Like, he's so good, man, and he has so much potential, and he's just getting better. So yeah, I all the time love and respect for Jay.
Thoughts on Tia winning her 8th?
Oh, fuck yeah. Like, again, I mean, it's hard because I'm a passionate Aussie. But yeah, like, I wanted her to win it, and I wanted her to do it in dominant style. Like, I probably don't fit the mold there of everyone that's like, we want to see more competition. I'm like, nah, Tia, fuck them up until you retire. Like, it's cool. I think it's kind of cool. And you know what? I hope she goes for 10, whether she will or won't. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's mad. I think it's really, really cool.
Emotions.
My opinion on that.
Emotions you were seeing when watching Tolo win it?
Oh, dude, I cried, man, and like, I'll get emotion now. Yeah, he's such a good friend of mine, and yeah, I'll always have a lot of love for him as a dude, and seeing him finally get there, I think that was probably the most emotional I was all weekend. I was stoked for the big fella.
Yeah, I think I would think anyone who's had a chance to interact with him in a meaningful way throughout his career probably felt the same way. I told Patrick afterwards, I said, it was, to me, the most palpable moment of the weekend. I'm getting a little bit emotional thinking back about it now too. So, but
people don't see how hard he works, right? He doesn't post a lot. He keeps to himself. But that cunt is fucking working. He's eats well. He's doing his mobility between sessions. Like, he has everything dialed in. The amount of time and effort and attention that he puts into mastering his craft and getting better as an athlete. I have so much love and respect for someone that sees that they can't do something, and instead of making excuses as to why they can't do it, just fucking doubles down on it. And that was with him with running and stuff like that. Like, the amount of running work that he has done since I met him in Iceland. And I used to see the state of him at the end of those sessions to hold numbers that weren't even close to what everyone else was at. But he was still just doing it, man, like grinding, doing the shit that he hated because he knew that he needed to do that. Taking the ego hit of not always being able to be the most insane lifter and put up those numbers that people are terrified of when they see. Like, that takes a particular type of person. And maybe people don't necessarily see that don't know Tola as well as I'm lucky enough to. But yeah, he fucking works.
Yeah, it was just so. I mean, how did it feel like? If obviously you won last year, but to kind of hand off, kind of pass the torch to him. Having one of your best mates kind of just to win it too. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. It's winning last year is still such a weird concept.
Yeah,
I like it. Yeah, it was. It's weird. But yeah, it was just like it had to have been a matter of time for him. And I just think that, I don't think that I didn't feel like I handed the torch off to him in any respect. I feel like he is the stalwart of the team division. Like that guy has dedicated his entire career. And I mean, I've always argued that with a little bit of tweaking here and there and picking the right events, he could make it as an individual, but he dedicated himself to the team competition. And I believe that, that's team daddy right there. So I didn't hand the torch off to anyone.
So all we need now is we need to maybe get BKG on a team and then just finish just go full circle with you three.
Oh, the great and mighty King Beaks. What a guy. Honestly, I think I might just come to Mesa to see Beaks, Tola, and Yami all in the same place.
That'd be great. That'd be awesome. I mean, Las Vegas is what? Maybe 4-hour drive,
It's close. But the problem for me is, right, I've been very well behaved for a long time. And I finished my event, and the following weekend is Labor Day long weekend, and I'm going to be in Las Vegas. I have a house in Las Vegas. I can't make any promises that I'll be leaving Vegas for the weekend. Why did they put it on that long weekend? You guys are big WFP stalwarts. Get them to change it. Just push it back, just so I can attend and watch it.
Yeah, just for you, just your own personal view. Entertain me, Just have.
This is an interesting one. I have a CrossFit in the chat there. Speaking of running, is Jeff running too much? I had that conversation with someone. It's a very interesting one, isn't it? Like his running is not just better than everyone. It's so far ahead of everyone. It's crazy. Like, I want to see him do a high rocks, to be frank. I feel like he would his running's not just impressive. It's fucking wild. So I don't know, is he? Maybe, but fuck, it's paying off through his running. It's incredible how well he runs.
The way he tracked down Roman on that first event. I mean, Roman had
turned on the gas. Yeah, it's interesting. I heard that thrown around a little bit, and yeah, I mean, regardless of whether it's quote unquote too much, his running is nothing short of incredible.
But it is pushing into the realm of what you were alluding to with Tola, and we've seen with many strength athletes over the history of the sport, where you're sometimes giving away a little bit at something that you're almost guaranteed a win on can have residual effects on several events.
Yeah.
Where even if you give up 10 points on that first workout, you might be able to make up 20 throughout the weekend. And right now, with as close as the men's field is, those 20 points can make all the difference.
Yeah. I actually had an interesting conversation with a dude at the gym that I'm training at here, CrossFit Gambit. And there's a young guy that he was there yesterday and he came in the back room today and we were having a yarn. It's just like, what do you do to what do you reckon the best way to get better is? And I was like, I used this old analogy that I was told when I first started CrossFit. It used to be a spider, but I was like, okay, if you line up every single skill, right, that in the sport, and you give yourself a rating of 1 to 10 on all those skills. And if you get a line that kind of looks a little bit like this, right, ideally what you want to do is if you can bring them all up, if you're just starting, if you can bring everything to a 4 and then you can increase it all together, unreal. If you can bring, everything to a 5 or 6 and improve across the board, I think that's really, really cool. The other thing I told him was everyone trains too much. If you're not a CrossFit Games athlete, you do not need to train more than 2 hours a day.
Yeah. Shout out CrossFit Gambit there.
Yes, what a sick facility.
Well, and I would say, this resonates. You were saying earlier that following this competition, you're planning to really lean into that 60 to 90 minute window of training. And there have been, Patrick and I have been talking about it for as long as we've been known each other. There were it was like Rebecca Voigt was the first one, and then Stacy Tovar, and there's been several others since then.
Panchek's the most recent.
Yeah, the only time that they'll ramp up the volume beyond that is when a competition like the games is coming up and they have to do more volume in competition. But otherwise, they can just maintain this foundation that they've built, turn the knob up when it's needed. But if you're not doing that, you don't need to turn the knob up. Just keep 100%. Doing it.
If you have that foundation, it's like realistically, and I see this all the time. Like there's people at the gym that I train at, so I watch them train for 4, 5, 6 hours a day. And I'm like, these aren't even semi-final level athletes. And it's crazy because that's just junk volume. You're not doing that with any degree of intensity at some point. You're running the risk of injury. You're burnt out. Like I see,
I would probably add the word meaningful. You're lacking meaningful intensity.
Yeah, they look unhappy to be training. And I'm like, when you look at like the demands of the sport up until a semi-final level. If your goal is to make semi-finals, you will have to do one workout a week for 3 weeks. All right? Maybe you do that workout twice or 4 times. No, but like realistically, it's one workout a week for 3 weeks. Then maybe you do an additional workout for whatever the thing is going down. All right? One workout a week. And you're telling, how can you justify doing 5 workouts a day? Like in what world does that benefit you? If you're just doing skills and you're learning, practicing movements and stuff like that, or you're building your aerobic base. But I'll tell you right now, none of these people are sitting on a bike for an hour. They're not doing an hour of zone 2. They're in there fucking ripping Metcon after Metcon after Metcon, doing 6 lifts in their strength piece, strength training every day. One of the best things I ever did was start working with Yami, and he has a strength train every other day. We don't even strength train every day. Because you and guess what? That's the best. That's the most I've grown in every area of my training was doing that. Was not strength training every day.
Well, yeah, but of course, I mean, think about traditional bodybuilding. You don't go in and do chest and shoulders Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Exactly.
So why would you be squat cleaning every day?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100% agree. CrossFit, great name too. Love that for you. It really was. And Yami's just like a supercomputer in human form. Dude is just like so knowledgeable. The other thing about Yami is he's a very funny dude if you get to know him. Great dude.
An idea, man. We should take some of these coaches that have been around forever and make a little like a Jedi coaching series. That'd be cool.
And the thing is now the sport's getting so good. The coaches are so good.
You got at least a half dozen guys like Yami that have been coaching athletes who've been qualifying at the highest level, whatever that means, for 15 years.
Yeah. Do you know what I think speaks volumes to Yami as well is you have a look at he gets these great athletes and they stay with him.
Yeah.
They're just yep, cool. I trust this man with my fitness. And it's that's just as simple as that.
Because what you're seeing now is a lot of athletes, they ride a coach till they think they've learned everything they can. They move on to another coach to try to learn more. And I think Annie got better, arguably got better, when she should have been declining. And then, the same with you. I mean, when you were training with her, it was the most fit you've ever, 2 years ago was the most fit you've ever been.
Until today.
Yeah. And then
if my lungs are cooperating, I'm in fucking unbelievable shape at the moment. Probably as good as I was back in 2022. But they're just so inconsistent, man. And that's just the frustration of dealing with whatever it is that I'm dealing with at the moment. And it's been 4 years of it off and on. If I have a day when my lungs are cooperating, I back myself in any and every workout. If they're not, then I'm breathing.
Unless it has GHD.
Yeah, but even then I can survive them. I can survive them. My body hates me and I won't do them again afterwards, but I'll just figure out a way. I just try and set my bum up a little bit from the inside, do the cheaty GHDs that everyone gets away with now, and just kind of look at the judge, come on now, it's fine, my bum's close enough.
Is that why you got the haircut, to sweet talk the judge on the GHD workout?
That's exactly it. No, I have to, for me to do GHDs and have a functioning body for the rest of the weekend, I have to do them the shittest way possible where my whole body just hangs off the back. The worst possible way to do them from an advantageous movement perspective is how I have to do them. So they're slow, they suck, they take more energy, they're harder, but that is the only way I can do them without fucking my back. Well, I used to be able to do them with my hips further off the other side and just kind of bend back like that. But now that that's been outlawed, I think there was that the quarterfinals workout, and it was like there's like 180 GHDs in it, and I was like, well, I'm never fucking doing this. But then you could do that, and I was like, let's go. So I think Harriet Roberts, shout out Haz, who not only helped me here but fixed my muscle ups this year. But yeah, she was just like, have your hips here and then just like lean back. And I was like, holy shit, you can do this? And she's like, they've not said you can't. It's kind of like hectic, but yeah. And I was like, huh? And then I did it and I took like 4th in that workout. And I was like, fuck, let's go. Can't do that anymore though. I have to do them the shit way.
I kind of brought this up, and you may not get the reference, but the coaching trees where you have one person and everyone kind of spreads off from that tree like other coaches. What I'm seeing right now, and I think we alluded to this earlier, was proven. I mean, this year's games, it seemed like proven was proven, in terms of, the athletes, their stamp, the amount of coaches. How long do you think that's sustainable? I mean, you have all these coaches, because at some point you would think some of those coaches would branch off, maybe do their own thing. I mean, it just seems like that's eventually the evolution. But I mean, what do you think? I mean, is this something you foresaw? I mean, you've been around Proven, the people, everyone that's involved. Just from what you saw this year, was this something you foresaw, like, 2-3 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, like, again, Jay is a stud, Ricky's a stud, Maddie's a stud. They're the ones that I know that are at that training camp. But like, you spend a little bit of time with any of those athletes, or with like Tia and Shane, and just like talk to them. You don't even have to spend time with them in a competitive setting, to just speak to them and to see what their level of dedication is and the way that they look at the sport and all that kind of stuff. And it's second to none. Like, I mean, it's not second to none, but everyone's doing that these days. That's the thing. Like, yeah, they're unreal. Every training camp that's like a reasonably high training camp, Underdogs, Brute, Mayhem, all of them. Yeah. Like they like, hard work pays off. Whatever. Like, they're all fucking dialed. Like, they're dialed because it is competitive now. Like, it's unbelievable.
I feel like Proven's the first camp to kind of like, you saw that Mayhem model, but not everyone can do the Mayhem model.
No,
because it takes money.
Too many GHDs.
Too many GHDs. But so they just get rid of the GHDs and you're good. But it seems like they kind of looked at the Mayhem model, but then they adapted to a smaller scale, not having everything as big as Mayhem has it, and keeping it a little bit closer and keeping it and just doing it more of a, I don't know, maybe their own way. Like, I would almost say a little bit hipper. I don't know, hipper, maybe not hipper, but but it just seems very similar, but at the same time, very different. Like the root of it is very Mayhem-esque, but the result of it's totally different. Like what they're putting out, the product, how it looks, but it's very similar. I mean, when you walked outside and you saw the Proven booth and then you saw the Mayhem booth, you saw two different looks, but different results. And I don't know. I just think it's just really cool to see. And I don't know. It's just like, as an Aussie or someone involved with Proven, you should be very proud of that. But at the same time, you wonder, okay, at what point does, how do you evolve from this?
Well, why do they need to? What do they need to do differently? They're fucking killing it. Why would they need to change what's already working?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they have to change it, but it seems like the sport is constantly evolving, right? Now, but I do believe they have the right people in place to evolve it, whether it be someone like, Shane obviously is a very, very in tune with the business side as well as the training side. And then you bring in someone like Kiefer, you bring in, all these other coaches. I mean, you have a CEO like Nick Johnston, who's very engaged with the community and the athletes, and, Upshaw. I mean, it seems like every time I hear it, it seems like every month there's like someone new involved with Proven that I didn't know was there prior to.
Didn't you kind of just answered your own question though? How do they evolve? Well, they've got a fucking phenomenal team.
Yeah,
that really know what they're doing, and when and if the sport changes dramatically, they seem more than equipped to deal with it. Like, it feels like they've got the perfect recipe, and yeah.
And I'm not saying that Mayhem hasn't evolved. I'm just saying the results this year favor Proven versus Mayhem, or
But then, but that, there's sport now. This has to be said. There's an element now of the sport where there are a select, in the men's side particularly, like you said, there's like 8 or 9 guys that are just, they're going to be up the top no matter what. All right. Programming, the breadth of talent in the sport now is wide enough that programming matters, right? We take the back squat and we turn that into a snatch. You now have a completely different, potentially top 3 to 5, 10 even, right? There is programming, what is programmed and what comes up will play a role in the leaderboard these days, except for on the women's side where Tia is just going to dominate at the top. So maybe you get a year that is more suited to the Mayhem. Mayhem has a very particular style to their programming, and it fucking works, because like whether you think whether they performed as well this year as Proven or not, it still works, because year after year they get a huge number of athletes that go to the games, that do reasonably well, that do clean up at all the local competitions. So it's not the same model as Proven, and it's just, they didn't have the same results as them this year, but it still works.
I think there's also in the realm of this conversation, I think what often doesn't get addressed is that the company of Mayhem or company of Proven or HWPO, they're constantly kind of reevaluating where they want to allocate resources. Just because HWPO doesn't have a ton of athletes at the games this year doesn't mean that the company is doing well. We don't really know how well these companies are doing we don't get to look at any of their books on the back end and see where they're making money or where they're spending money. So if you're only assessing the caliber of one of these companies based on the number of athletes or the performances of their athletes, that's, you're kind of choosing to do that. They may not really care about that, or they may really care about that. We're not really too sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, while we're talking about that, this is something I thought about today, and I don't think it's being talked about enough, is the training think tank women. How well training think tank did at the games this year with Annika, Alexis Raptis, and Lydia Fish. I mean, that's 3 athletes all in the top 15, and I just think it's kind of like overshadowed. And I wanted to give like that training think tank, the coaches, Max, Perrin, who's coaching Alexis. I forgot who's coaching Alexis.
She changed coaches.
Is it Adam?
Not anymore.
Yeah, but that group, because I mean, because everyone's talking about Proven and Brood or this and that, but and it's kind of weird seeing training think tank without the Noahs, the Chandlers, the Travis, on the men's field, but the women field definitely. And look at the average age of those 3 women. Where me and Con were talking about the other day. It's like, Annika's only 22. And it just feels like the competition experience, maybe not at the games, but it feels like she's been around competing at the highest level for such a long time. Alexis is 23, 24, and then Lydia's not even 20 yet, I think. I don't know. Kyle Ruth, thank you, Lynn. But but I just wanted to kind of bring that up, like kind of give training think tank their flowers on that. And I think, these 3 women, I forgot where Lydia finished at, but you had 9 and 10 right there, and especially Alexis, just a really, really like unfortunate weekend, but she showed how tough she was. And I mean, if anyone doubted how tough Alexis was, I mean, she was dealing with her issue to begin with, where, I mean, she can't even keep food down and constantly in the bathroom and stuff like that. But then that on top of a back injury where she didn't lift anything for a whole month, and then still finished and just busted her ass and finished 10th. I just kind of wanted to recognize that. So.
Any other topics you want to ask Con about, Patrick, while he's here?
I don't know. What's for dinner tonight? Mexican? You feeling Mexican?
Yeah.
All right. I know a good Mexican place. I took Brian there. He liked it.
Yeah. I'll check you off there.
Cool. No, that was great, Con. Thank you for doing this, man. I know you're in the midst of obviously a ton of different stuff going on and prepping for a big competition, but you're a worldly guy. You've got a lot of different, points of perspective to share, and we appreciate you coming on and doing it.
I appreciate you guys. Sayonara. See you, boys.
All right. See ya. Patrick, I think I should probably say last thing, maybe since you're wearing that sweatshirt before we sign off. It's Jason's birthday today.
It is Jason.
I don't know if that's why you wore the shirt.
No, it's just I really like this. It's very comfortable. It's like, you know how I am about hoodie. I mean, it's like 90 degrees outside, and look at me. I'm always wearing.
And raining and humid.
Yeah, it's rainy and humid and everything. The motorcycle did get picked up today, so I'm happy about that. That's why I kind of had to leave. But no, yeah, happy birthday to Jason Ainsley. Who, those who don't know, him and his wife Heidi put on great competitions here in the Midwest, the premier events in the Midwest, the Monster Games. They are now they own Heart of America HOA, which used to be a very, very top level team competition. They're bringing it back. To have it here in Springfield, Missouri, and of course, Jason is the U.S. program, I guess, director of programming for U.S. for the WFP. Myself and Brian, we had the pleasure of heading over to Kansas City and Overland Park to broadcast the event, and it was really cool working with Jason and Heidi and just that crew and just working at that level. We never worked with them before, and it definitely provided some learning experiences for, I think, everyone, us, them, everything. And yeah, so happy birthday to Jason. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for everyone hoodie in 90 degrees. Like, and that's sure. Yes. But no, thanks for everyone in the chat. Thanks to Lynn. Lynn just, I mean, if we had to pick a fan of the day or someone, I mean, she was, obviously she's a big Con fan, so it's really great to have her involved. CrossFit, some great questions in there. Kate with just nonsense, Lynn, like I said, Lynn crushed it. Everyone, we appreciate you all joining us today. And I think Thursday, the In the Box office will be at its regular time at 7:00 Central, 6 Eastern. Guest TBD. Yeah, T-Bird. Forgot about T-Bird, and I don't know who else I'm gonna listen by. I mean, everyone, just. But yeah. So that, and then next week we plan on having, me and Brian plan on doing 2 shows next week, previewing men and women WFP, and then the girls will have a show next Thursday as well, and T-Bird. Yes. But looking forward to that. We're planning on having some cool guests next week, so we're looking forward to that. We're just waiting for confirmation. But yeah, with that said, shout out to ACR CBD for providing us all our CBD needs. Brian, on cue. Boom. Look at that.
Always right here.
Yep, always right there. So we appreciate their support, and we appreciate everyone in the chat and everyone that listens and downloads and everything, because it's just not about listening live. It's we get hundreds and hundreds of downloads on our podcast platforms, and so we know that people. That's why we do it. I mean, we do it because we want this stuff out there for people to consume whenever they want. Whether it be live, of course, we appreciate the live, but that's not the reason why we do live. We do the live because we like engaging with you, but we also do the live because it just makes it easier to knock it out. But at the end of the day, it's just getting that stuff out there so that way people can download it, consume it, and that's really why. So, but thanks everyone. It's Tuesday. We got the rest of the week. I appreciate everyone and their friendliness. And Brian, as always, you should be friendly to all our friends, and everyone should be friendly, our friends.